What's up, guys? I hope everybody's doing well. And there isn't really a lot to talk about. There's no NASCAR races going on. Um, we don't really know how NASCAR Heat 5 is developing. There's no news on that front. Although I do believe I read somewhere where they did say that they are still developing the game. Nothing's changed. A lot of that work can be done remotely, so a lot of these guys are just working from home. I do still think that this whole situation that's going on now will have some effect. There's no way anyone can say that it doesn't affect it at all. So who knows how it's being affected? So there's no news there. But Uh, there is something everybody seems to be talking about right now. Is an incident that happened with Kyle Larson during an iRacing event. Now, there's not a lot going on, and I do think there are people promoting a lot of this iRacing NASCAR stuff. I don't particularly care for it. I haven't really followed it. I tried watching some of it. And for me, I don't see any difference with these guys and any other online racing footage that you might watch on YouTube or something. Online racing for me is a mess. And you can see now that even with NASCAR drivers, it's not much different. And these are professional, some of the greatest drivers in the world. And even they look like a bunch of kids, racing online. Now, I'm not trying to bash iRacing. It is very good for what it is. It's a simulator for online racing. But I do think that there's a lot of people really pushing this idea that this is a substitute for not having real racing and that it's awesome. And to me, it's a shit show. Uh, there was this incident with Bubba Wallace rage quitting and the sponsor backing out, and they're taking this shit way too serious. So I just think that it's going a little too far. I don't care for it. I don't want to watch people racing online. It's a shit show, no matter who's there. That's neither here nor there. Which leads me to the main topic, which is, as it turns out, Kyle Larson during one of these iRacing events was racing online, and there was a moment where I think they were having this uh, issue with the communication, and I guess the voice was going out, and somebody probably asked them if they could hear them, or he was asked, he didn't know if they could hear him, and he blurts out the N word with the hard ER, not with the A at the end. Um, and it turns out, yeah, it came out. They heard him. People, rightfully were reacting, shocked, and they kind of told him, "Hey, we all heard that. Everyone can hear you." So obviously that became big news, and he ended up issuing an apology today, and NASCAR responded. A whole lot of people are talking about it, so I'm just giving you my 2 cents on it. It's just my opinion. But I want to talk a little bit more about what I consider a bigger issue beyond him using the word. It's really more everyone else's reaction. So yes, right off the bat, what he did was absolutely wrong. He should know better. And the backlash, it for me, is absolutely uh, justified. And I know that a lot of people hate this whole cancel culture, as they call it, where people immediately want to destroy people's lives over something somebody did or said that people don't like. So you're looking to figure out a way to destroy their career, things like that. I think it's safe to say that most people don't really like cancel culture. I also agree the shit does go too far many times. But in this particular case, I think there's a bigger story, and it's this immediate. You see it with a lot of people. Not everyone's doing it, but there's a lot of people out there that right away come to the defense of Kyle Larson or somebody who actually said, used the N word, and they come out with these defenses and things like, it's just a word, or what was his intent, or what was the context that the word was used in. And I think a lot of this stuff is a real gray area, and it's an excuse for people to defend something that is really, at this point in our history, indefensible. And I do think that the majority of people that do it are also doing it because we're talking about somebody who's a celebrity. He's famous, he has a lot of fans, and people are defending it purely on that merit. And I think that, to me, that's a bigger issue. I mean, what he did was boneheaded. We're not talking about some teenager. He's 27 years old. He's been around a while. He's a grown man. He has a child himself. He's a grown man. He should know better. There's no way anybody can say he doesn't know that this is unacceptable. Also, it was a moment that he thought that nobody was listening, or it was, I don't really think any thought went into it. It was a quick moment of, we've all done something in our lives where it was so quick, you didn't really think about it before you did it, and then the moment you do it, it's like you almost immediately know, oh shit, I just fucked up. That was stupid what I just did. I think for the most part, that just seems like what he did. However, there's a lot of questions that are legitimate. This is clearly not the first time he's ever used that word. People that use that word or get caught using it, trust me, it's never the first time they've ever said it. It's not something that just comes out of your mouth. It's something you're comfortable saying. So I'm not here to say that he's a racist or a card-carrying member of some fucking Ku Klux Klan section or whatever. I don't know. That's the point. None of us really know who he is. We don't know any of these people. We become fans of them because they're race car drivers, and we love NASCAR, and the same way we become enamored with many celebrities, we might like people because of their work. But we don't really know these people. And for people to defend him or try to make excuses for him, they're only doing it based on his celebrity status, or the fact that maybe they're fans of his, or they're worried about how this may affect his career and what's going to happen. It would suck that he's a great race car driver, and what happens if he's no longer a part of, there's a lot that goes into it, but none of it really addresses the main issue of what was said, why, and those are questions that are never going to be answered, because he's going to tell you that it was a mistake, that he didn't mean anything by it. He might say that it was a joke. Obviously he knows what he did was wrong, but he's going to defend it and downplay it. That's going to be, nobody is going to ever admit, when they're caught doing something, they're not going to admit the worst of it, and say, hey, yeah, I'm a fucking asshole, I'm just a racist or whatever. Nobody's going to admit that. So he's going to say, he's sorry. And I do believe he's sorry, okay? I'm not attacking him. I have nothing against Kyle Larson. I think he's a great driver. I was never really a big fan, but leaning one way or the other, I guess I was a very mild fan. I have nothing against the guy. So this isn't about him and me making, accusations that I know for a fact that he's a racist or not. This is beyond that. I don't know if he, what kind of guy he is. I don't need to know that. The point is, what he did was unacceptable. He's 27 years old. He has major sponsors behind him. He makes millions of dollars doing what he does. He's responsible for a lot of things that he does, whether he likes it or not. And I'm not saying, I don't even know what should happen to him. So I'm not even going there with it. I'm just saying that whatever happens, it's, he probably deserves it. And I don't know if this is going to ruin his career. Some people says his career is over. I don't know. I don't think so. I've seen people do worse, and just as time goes by, things blow over and they get a second chance. And I'm not against the second chance. So I'm not really taking any definitive view that, this should happen to him, his career should be over, or he deserves a second chance. I'm not taking a position on any of that, because I really don't know what should happen. But what I think is more important is really how people just decide to defend certain things based on celebrity status, that the fact that they're a fan, or just maybe even defending the idea. And this is the real thing that bothers me more than anything. People that bring up this question of, why do black people get to use that word but I can't? And we all know somebody who says something like that. Or some of you guys may be one of those people who think that way. So I'm not here to attack anyone on that. But what I'd like to see is, instead of asking that question, if you're one of those people who just is outraged that you're expected not to use that word as a white guy or as anybody, but black folks still use that word. If you're one of those people who are outraged about that, I'm kindly asking you to take a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, why is it that it's so important for you to be able to still use that word? Why do you care that black folks use that word? Now, personally, we can have that debate on whether it's okay for black folks to use it. That's a legitimate debate to have. But in either case, the way I look at it is, I can control what I do. I refuse to use that word because I think it's inappropriate and it carries along racist connotations. Doesn't matter how I mean to use it. And that's what gets me. That people all want to make their own description of the word and why they want to use it. And I'm like, can't we just agree that this is just toxic? This word is toxic to American history, to how it affects the black community. I don't care that they use the word. Okay? Or if black people still want to use, that's on them. Just because someone else does something doesn't mean you have to do it as well. And why is this so important to you that you feel outraged that certain people can use it but you're expected not to? Why can't you just say, you know what? It's no skin off my nose to not be able to use this thing anymore. I'm just not going to use it. I don't want to contribute to this apathy and ignorance in our society, I'm not going to play a role in that. I don't need to use the word. I choose not to. And if someone else chooses to, that's on them. Let that be on their conscience. Another point that really bothers me is that people that take these sides, right, and decide to defend people who do what Kyle Larson did. Why can't you, or we as a society, right? Because I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect. But why can't we as people just put ourselves in someone else's shoes? And what I mean is, if you happen to be white, okay, full disclosure, I'm Hispanic, I'm Dominican, born and raised in New York. But for people that want to use the word or whatever, and you're not black, why can't you ever just think about someone else who isn't like you? So I'm not black, but that doesn't mean I can't understand or feel empathy for black folks who feel that that word is not only insulting but dangerous to their way of life. Uh, I don't need to be black to understand that or to feel empathy. And I see this so much in our society, in America, why we still fight and argue over racism. We never seem to get over it because we defend even the most, what we consider, inconsequential uh, examples of racism. Again, I don't know if Kyle Larson's a racist, but for him to just throw that word out there, to dismiss it and pretend that it's not a big deal, is insulting. And what is it about us that makes us unable to just say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that? Is that the hill you want to die on, defending that? With all the shit going on in the world, as fucked up as things are right now, there's a lot more to be outraged about. Instead of being outraged that somebody might lose their career for using that word. I hope he gets a second chance. I hope that, I hope we all learn from this and people look at this and say, you know what? Look what can happen to you if you use that word. If you're not more conscious socially about how you carry yourself. And maybe people can learn from that and say, I don't want to end up like that. So if that's all that comes out of it, that's a positive thing. But in either case, it's disturbing to me to see a lot of people, and you see it in comment sections, you see it even with other YouTubers. I see people out there trying to downplay it, saying, oh, I don't care about this word, I don't care what he said, big deal. Who the fuck are you to decide that it's not a big deal? This is what really bothers me. And it's the same thing when you talk about the Confederate flag, things like that, all these taboo subjects, right? Why is it that I don't even want to go there. This is going to be a never-ending topic. And I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash about the things I'm saying. I don't give a fuck. I'm just fucking tired of it. I just turned 50 on Saturday. I'm 50 years old. I've been around a while, and there are things that I'm just fucking tired and fed up with in society. And I'm like, there's people don't give a fuck about really important things in life, and you want to put yourself out there and defend bullshit like somebody using the N-word, and you want to downplay it. I don't know, man. It's if we can't take a baby step like that to just say, "Hey, I'm okay not using that word." If that's all I can do, is just say, "All right, I'm good." That's a baby step. We can't even do that. How the fuck are we ever gonna solve much bigger issues in society? You can't even do that. You can't even agree that, hey, we shouldn't be using this fucking word. That's the kind of shit that really bothers me. Because Kyle Larson, he's going to be okay no matter what happens. He's made a lot of money in his career so far. If his career ends up going down the toilet after this, he's going to be just fine. His family's going to be fine. Believe you me. Now, I'm not going to lose a bit of sleep over it. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I couldn't care less what happens to him. If he gets another opportunity, if people decide, you know what, give him another chance, whatever, that's not going to bother me either. But it's just the people that are trying to defend him and downplay this shit. I don't get it. And when I say put yourself in other people's shoes, what about all the good people that work for NASCAR and all the sponsors that work with NASCAR that for years now have been desperately trying to erase that image of, this NASCAR being a bunch of just southern rednecks, racists. Look at these guys waving that, Confederate flag, and I know a lot of people, they don't want to hear it. They hate when people bring that shit up, but there is a very nasty history attached to these things. And just because you grew up, in a culture that told you it's okay, that this stuff is part of your culture and it's okay, NASCAR's trying to undo that. And they're trying to make NASCAR a global sport, that people respect it as a national sport. And people who don't really follow NASCAR, they're going to look at this shit with Kyle Larson, and they're going to say, you see, this is who they are. What about all these people that have been working so hard for years to try to expand NASCAR and diversify NASCAR? All that hard work goes right down the toilet whenever somebody like Kyle Larson does what he did. You don't care about these people? You don't care about this, what they're trying to do? Some of the same people that desperately want NASCAR to come back and be strong and expand, and you're the same people that defend this shit. I don't get it. All I can say is I'm not losing a bit of sleep over Kyle Larson and whether or not his career goes down the toilet. Guess what? If Ganassi gets rid of him, if he ends up having to drive for some third-rate team, or he's out the sport, eventually, I couldn't care less. Guess what? Somebody else will fill that seat. That's the way it works. People come and go. And I have nothing against Kyle Larson. I think he's a great driver, but couldn't care less. If his career's done, I don't think it's going to be done. I think he'll be back. I think this will blow over eventually. A lot of things blow over in society. That's the world we live in. But I'm not losing sleep over it. But, like I said, I'm more disturbed by the people that are just immediately defending what he did. And they're making excuses. I don't know. That's pretty much where I'm at with this whole thing. And I love NASCAR. Those of you who have been watching me for some time now, I love NASCAR, and I don't really have any ill will towards anybody. It's just, this is unacceptable, and it just never ceases to amaze me how often people will still come out and you'll see it, man. People defending this shit. I don't know what else to say about that, but there's more important things in the world going on, things that we really should be outraged about, and instead people choose to be upset because they want to downplay somebody famous getting caught using that word. And I do believe he's sorry. He did look sorry, but I think he's more sorry that he got caught and how this might affect his career. I think that's what really is keeping him from getting any sleep. And I don't blame him for that. But you don't get to show up in court after you did something and tell the judge, I'm really sorry. Can you just let me go? There's consequences to everything. And if he loses sponsors, if he loses his ride, if he ends up never getting a major ride in the sport, so be it. This is the consequence of some of these things. So those are my thoughts. I hope I didn't upset too many people. I'm really hoping that people stop and think. And if you are one of these people who kind of want to defend him or defend this use of that word, please take a moment to stop and ask yourself, why do you need to defend that so much? Why can't you just say, you know what? This is a toxic word. I'm never going to use it, and I can't support it. And that's it. It's a baby step. It's not a big deal. It's not going to ruin your life that you can't use that word anymore. I don't get it, man. But if you ever want NASCAR to be widely accepted and embrace people from all cultures, then you got to respect people from all cultures. You can't just, care about things that only affect you. So, those are my thoughts. I look forward to your comments.